Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books and I'll let you know what I thought about them, but first, I want to invite you to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. It really does help us out. Anyway, moving along, we always start with the pick of the week, and this week's pick of the week, Hell is a Squared Circle #1. Technically, it's a one-shot, a graphic novella, if you will. It's a 48-page comic from Aftershock, written by Chris Condon, who is the writer of That Texas Blood, with artwork by Francisco Biagini. This book was awesome, especially with the coloring by Mark Englehart. So it is a wrestling comic book, right? It's big, it's bad, it's oversized, but it's got a great story with fantastic artwork. This story is exciting, it's thrilling, it's deep, it's dark, and it packs a hell of a punch. I absolutely loved this book. So it's about a wrestler, and let's just say things don't turn out quite the way he plans, and it leads him down this path of despair, this path of crime, this path of misery, and also just badassery. I loved this book. Took me completely by surprise. I didn't have a chance to get a head start on today's readings. That's why the video's a little bit later. I almost didn't read it because I was like, it's 48 pages. It seems like it could be. I am so glad I read this. The artwork in this book is absolutely amazing. The story was incredibly engaging. The character was cool. I had a lot of fun with this story, and if you're a wrestling fan, you're definitely going to like this one. So many great wrestling comics here in the last few years, and what makes them even better is when you don't even have to be a hardcore wrestling fan. Like, I used to like wrestling back in the 90s, but I've kind of been out of it for sure since then. It doesn't matter. That energy, that thrill, it is here, but it's also, like I said, anchored by a really good, dark, gritty crime story. It's wrestling noir is what they call it on the back. This book was awesome. Kudos to all involved. $7.99, but it's a one-shot comic. This is all you need. Wonderful paper quality, amazing colors, violent, bloody, brutal. Loved it. Sleeper hit of the week. Let's jump into an Oni Press book, Pink Lemonade, issue #1. So this is from Nick Cagnetti. This is a book that's existed before. So it was like crowdfunded or something. And now Oni Press has picked it up for a series, so this reminded me of Madman. And I'm not just talking about the poppy art of it, or even the absurd quirkiness of the story, but when I first started reading Madman, I jumped into the Dark Horse stuff, and I felt lost. I felt like I missed the beginning of the story, but there was something about it that compelled me, and I continued to read Madman until I eventually seeked out the earlier stuff, and then became just the most avid fan. I got that impression as soon as I was finished with this book. It felt like I had missed the beginning of something, but it also was kind of, I don't know, it did a great job of introducing everything. I think there were 2 issues or something before this, 2 one-shots. Maybe this is even a reprint of a one-shot. I have no idea. All I'm trying to say is this. I read this book and I loved it. It had an incredible sense of fun, great, vibrant colors, amazing artwork. I am all in. I loved this book. 100%. Thought it was great. It's about this young woman. She wakes up one day. She has no memory of who she is. She got this motorcycle. It seems like this little motorbike talks to her. She wears this silly helmet. She's just trying to do good things for good people, but winds up in bad situations. I love this book. It's quirky. It's fun. If you like Madman, you should check this book out. I highly encourage you to check this out. That's your sleeper hit of the week. All right, let's move on to DC. We got Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead. This is written by Bruce Campbell with artwork by Eduardo Risso. I thought this book was amazing. I really liked it. Usually when you have, say, like a celebrity come in to write a comic, you kind of get nervous. Now, when I met Bruce Campbell last year at Scarefest in Lexington in October, he told me he was working on a Sergeant Rock book. And alas, here it is. It's awesome. Usually, like I said, you get in a celebrity writer, they don't know a thing about comics or how to pace them or script them or anything like that. It works here. I don't know how much help Bruce had, or if Bruce just knows how to do comics, because he's already done, I think he's done a handful of comic works before. This was awesome. It read really great, really quick, and the artwork by Eduardo Rizzo did not hurt. So Rizzo, of course, is the artist of 100 Bullets. Most people remember him from. I really liked this book. It is Sergeant Rock and the Easy Company. They're in World War II, and the Germans are experimenting with zombie Nazis. So zombie soldiers versus the Easy Company. It's simple. It's not trying to do anything more than that, but it was fun, but also kind of dark at the same time, and I always thought it was incredibly well written and amazing artwork. Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead. That was awesome. Tim Drake, Robin, number 1. This book's alright. Tim Drake is my favorite Robin. I love him. But I haven't really dug much of what Fitzmartin has done. I think it's Megan Fitzmartin or something. Riley Rossmo's artwork I kind of like, but it just didn't work for me for this character. I do appreciate that they were trying to get into like more the detective nature of Tim Drake, but there was just something that was... There was some kind of... I don't know, there was something vital missing in here. I don't know. It's not hard. They're trying their best there, but it just didn't quite fit for me, and I'm a huge Tim Drake fan, so I was looking forward to reading this, but it kind of let me down. But I don't know, other people might like it. If you like what Fitzmartin's been doing in her work, you might want to go ahead and... It's kind of like a continuation of all that stuff. Then we got Detective Comics 1064, Ram V, Raphael Albuquerque on Detective Comics, telling a hell of an awesome Batman story. I love this. Big focus on story. There's this fable that's being told from Talia to Damian in a flashback sequence, and that's somehow related to what's going on. And I'm really digging this. I'm digging this, like, foreboding pace that this book has, and I love Batman putting himself through the rigors. Ram V has an excellent use of language. The artwork in this book is absolutely amazing. The colors are amazing. Really great compositions and layouts, inspired by Topi, for instance, but some really great action scenes, some colors that make it pop. Ram V is doing an excellent job with Detective Comics. So, you know, you got this team here. You got Zdarsky and Jimenez on Batman. The two main Batman books are in good hands right now. Then we got Action Comics 1047. So Philip Kennedy Johnson is finished with the War World saga, right? So now Superman, Kal-El, is back on Earth. So this starts a multi-part crossover with Superman, Son of Kal-El, which I haven't been reading, but I guess we'll check it out, because I have been reading Action Comics. I liked this issue. I really did like the War World stuff. I just felt like it went on so long that it felt like it was kind of repeating the same story points over and over until it got to this, like, really drawn out, yet very quick and anticlimactic ending. This, though, is kind of setting up something different. Superman's back on Earth. He's got Warworld orbiting it, so it's dealing with those kind of problems. And Lex Luthor is up to no good. And the Lex stuff is probably my favorite bits here. Now, the artwork is by Riccardo Federici, and you know, the line work is good, but there's just something too muted about the colors that don't make this very realistic artwork as poppy as it should. Now, I know that that seems like that's cool, but I don't know. There are other pages. It feels like the line work kind of gets covered up by this hazy, muddy color. I don't know. Didn't really like it. And then we got Superman Space Age, issue number 2. I did not like this nearly as much as I liked issue number 1. Now, I'm a big fan of the Allrits, and the artwork is absolutely splendid. The first issue blew me away. The second issue was a step down a little bit in the quality of the story, or at least in the compelling nature of the story for me. But it's taking Superman through this journey, a retelling of his life, almost in real time. This is kind of like a Superman life story, and it almost kind of repeats some of the same threads from writer Mark Russell's Fantastic Four life story. So that kind of, I don't know, it's all right. There's this looming crisis. I like this slow foreboding build up to it. But in this one, it's mostly a young man, Superman, trying to find himself, his purpose, love, all that kind of stuff. So there's some nice moments here, some building up of the other characters of the Justice League, but at certain times, they feel a bit too jokey, and they don't really have a lot of personality to them, aside from, like, Batman. And I like the work being done there by showing Batman and then inverting it, and then how that juxtapositions against the Superman story. But, I mean, it was all right. The artwork was really solid, but if you were blown away by issue number 1, I would expect a step down for issue number 2, but I still enjoyed it and thought it was very well done, especially the artwork. Then we got Batman Beyond the White Knight, issue number 5? Yes, issue number 5. So the book is back. Took a little bit of a hiatus. They did that Red Hood 2-issue series, and now we're back, and we're back in business. This is a fantastic book. Sean Gordon Murphy, an amazing artist. The story is strong, too. I liked Batman Beyond, not as much as other people seem to, but I love this interpretation of the Batman Beyond mythology and how that can be folded into this Murphyverse, right? This Batman universe that he's created, this White Knight verse that I'm loving. I love the artwork. I love the coloring. I love the pace of it. I love the escalation of things. And nobody can draw the Batmobiles like Sean Gordon Murphy. This book is awesome. I'm just going to say that. Human Target's back as well, issue number 7, a really long hiatus from issue 6 to 7, but for me, worth the wait. I know a lot of people don't really like Tom King. A lot of people are kind of up and down on him. Some people love him. I'm a little hot and cold on him, right? It's like that, was that a Katy Perry song? You're hot and you're cold. It's yes, then it's no. That's what I feel like when I'm reading Tom King. Some of his stuff I cannot stand. Some of his stuff I really like, and some of it's okay. This one I really like. Now, if you're a super hardcore fan of Justice League International, you may have some problems here. However, this is not tied into any continuity. This is just its own story. This is Tom King with amazing artwork from Greg Smallwood. Like, amazing, beautiful artwork from Greg Smallwood. Absolutely astonishing. Just telling a film noir, like 40s detective story, private investigator, sexy, witty kind of thing. And I'm all here for it. I'm loving it. This book is cool. I really like it. Then we got Sandman Universe Nightmare Country, issue number 6. This is the final issue. And honestly, it kind of wrapped up the last issue. What this issue is it's James Tynion, along with Maria Lovett here as the guest artist, telling a story that's basically a bridge between Nightmare Country and the upcoming Dead Boy Detectives. That kind of threw me for a loop. That being said, I really liked this issue. But basically, a writer gets picked by Hollywood to write the screenplay for the story that we've just read for the previous 5 issues. So he's diving deep into it. It was giving me some like later Hellraiser movie vibes. And when I say later Hellraiser movies, I'm not talking about like Revelations or anything like that. I'm talking like more like, I don't know, like Deader, you know, something like that. Anyway, I don't know why I brought that up. It's Horror Fest time. But Nightmare Country issue 6, it was okay. But not really a conclusion, but a bridge to the next series. I don't know, it was weird. But it was still a good, solid one-shot issue, albeit leading to Dead Boy Detectives. So there you go. Nice House on the Lake is back. Hey, where's this book been? It's issue number 10 of 12, so we're nearing the end. How long will it take them to come out? I have no idea, but I'm glad it's back. However, the book, filled with so many characters, so much mystery, so many things shifting and changing here and there, it kind of is a little discombobulating for it to be so late and then sit down and read issue number 10, get into it and be like, okay, I forgot who these characters are. And they know that because at the end they even give you like a guide to the characters. They know. There's a lot of explanations in this issue, but the connection to the previous issues is getting muddied because it's been so late that it's hindering my enjoyment of this book. That being said, art's still great. The story is written well. The characters are acting well. It's just, what's going on? Who are these people? If that book would have been more on time, I think it would have more of an impact. So there you go. From Marvel, we've got Thor 27. I was very excited to have Thor come back because I've been enjoying what Donny Cates has been doing on Thor recently. But this isn't really a Donny Cates issue of Thor. It's an Al Ewing issue of Thor. It's co-plotted by Donny Cates, but it's scripted and co-written by Al Ewing. And it's a crossover with Venom. Now, I don't think it's crossing over directly with Venom, but Venom is in here. And it's kind of tied in a little bit to what's going on in the Carnage book. But I didn't really like it at all. Salvador LaRocca did the artwork, and it felt like he did it in an afternoon, which kudos. You know, most people can't do that. Rush job or whatever, but it did not look good for me. And I just, I haven't really been liking the Venom book or the direction, and seeing him played up against Thor, I was just like, man, I miss my Donny Cates Thor. I'd be glad to get back to that. But it ain't going to be over. There's at least one more issue, so I don't know. I thought it was just all right. Then we got Thunderbolts issue number 2. Second issue from Jim Zub with the artwork by Sean Ikaksi. I like this book. It's just silly. It's fun. It's not trying too hard, but I love it. So The Thunderbolts are now a sanctioned legal team from New York. Luke Cage is the mayor of New York, so he's kind of like in charge of them, but the field leader is Hawkeye, but the team's kind of like put together in almost like a boy band type way, right? Where like the decisions are made by committee and there's less autonomy that Hawkeye has as leadership in this role, but I really like it. We get introduced to this Egro, the Unbreakable, like a very Kirby-esque monster character, and it's just a really fun, silly, humorous issue that sets up where we're going, and it sets up the team dynamic. So I really did like that book. Then we got Amazing Spider-Man issue number 10 with an Axe tie-in. So I almost didn't read this one either, but then I noticed it was drawn by Nick Dragotta. So Nick Dragotta, super cool dude, big fan of his work, so I decided to check it out. And it was a pretty decent tie-in. You know, in the Axe Judgment Day story, a Celestial's been raised. It's judging the Earth in a 24-hour period or whatnot. Everybody's being judged individually. So this is Spider-Man being judged, and he's judged by Gwen Stacy, where the judge is appearing to him as Gwen Stacy. But, it's a pretty solid issue. The artwork's good. It's not as good as Nick Dragotta can be, but it's serviceable for a Marvel comic. It's really good, actually, as far as that goes, comparatively to the others. But I actually liked the story. I thought it was cool. It kind of like tugs at your heartstrings a little bit. I mean, we've seen this kind of thing before, but every once in a while it's good to be reminded of how tragic the loss of Gwen Stacy was. Then we got Ant-Man issue number 3. This is the Scott Lang focused. This is the Scott Stank-centered issue. So this is a 4-issue series written by Al Ewing. Each issue is focused on a different Ant-Man. We had Eric O'Grady in the last one. We had the original Hank Pym Ant-Man in the first one. The next issue is going to be the future Ant-Man. He's been thread throughout this entire run. This one's all about Scott Lang, his daughter, just like a mission there, kind of tying it together with the Black Ant. So I actually liked it. I thought it was cool. The timey-wimey stuff is working for me here because they're still actually taking each chapter to focus in on an individual character and actually an individual decade of comics, too, at the same time. So I thought Ant-Man number 3 was a pretty solid read. Captain America's Symbol of Truth, issue number 5. Symbol of Liberty has an intriguing story, but at the same time it's kind of dumb and is really losing me fast. Symbol of Truth, though, has kind of had an action-oriented story, but also like throwing in the White Wolf and a little Wakanda type stuff, and I've been enjoying the book. And then we get here, which is the conclusion of the first arc, and it fell flat. It fell so flat for me. There are bits from the Marvel Cinematic movies that are being used here, like lines, things, and I get it. Okay, I guess that's cool and fun, but it just kind of annoyed me. I don't know. That happens in the Thor book too. Like, maybe I'm just too old. I'm not trying to be that old guy yelling at the, shaking my fist. It's like, don't mimic the MCU. The MCU mimicked you. That's how it's supposed to be. You influence the MCU. The MCU doesn't influence you. This is the real stuff, or it should be. This fell flat for me, though. There was a lot of stuff here that just didn't work right, and I didn't think they really stuck the ending, but this has been a pretty good series overall, and R.B. Silva's artwork, it is Silva, right? Yeah, R.B. Silva's artwork's been really solid. Genies Vell is here, Captain Marvel, issue number 3. This is a nice throwback to that Peter David run from the 90s, where you had Genies Vell, son of Captain Marvel, and Rick Jones kind of tied together with the Nega Band, so it's retreading some of that stuff, but it's just as fun as I remember that stuff being. So if you were a fan of that stuff back in the day, you definitely want to check this out. But if you didn't read that stuff, might be a little bit lost, let's jump over to Image. And from Image, we have Old Dog number 1. This is from Declan Shalvey. Now, I'm a huge fan of Declan Shalvey's artwork, and the artwork here did not let me down. He's got a great sense of flow, especially when it comes to action, and I really, really appreciate it. The story was pretty decent. Now, I'm not 100% sold on the story, but it was intriguing enough, especially combined with that artwork, and I believe Jordi Belair does the colors. Yes, Jordi Belair, I think. Well, where does it say that? Anyway, I'm pretty sure Jordi Belair does the colors. Don't quote me on that. I'll find the... Anyway, I should be talking instead of just looking for the colors. But now I'm really bothered by that. Where are the credits page? Why do they always hide this stuff now? They always... Oh, there it is, right there. I don't see a colorist listed. Oh, so is it colored by Declan Shalvey? All right. So, Old Dog. I love Declan Shalvey's artwork. Story's pretty decent, too. So, it's about this dude. He's like I guess you could say he's like an old agent of some government or something, like a spy, some kind of secret agent, right? And now he's an older guy, so they're doing some stuff in the past, some stuff in the present, and it's all tied together. But basically, I don't want to spoil the twist at the end, but he gets a new partner that has a connection to him and to his past, and that partner is going to have to teach this old dog new tricks. And yes, this first issue is called New Tricks. So, story's pretty decent. Didn't quite sell me on that yet, but the artwork is amazing. Then we got Flawed, issue number 1. This is from Image Comics, written by Chuck Brown, with artwork by Frenzy. I was not expecting much out of this book, but I really liked it. It's about this psychiatrist. She's talking to this woman. This woman's daughter was murdered by this dude, but the dude has never been caught. So she's helping these people deal with their trauma, and then when it's over, she puts on her vigilante gear, and she goes and enacts justice on the people responsible. So she's this psychiatrist slash vigilante, but it worked. It had a nice sense of energy and vibrancy to it, even though it was dealing with things like trauma and violence in a very brutal and honest way. I enjoyed this book. I thought it was really cool. Then we got 8 Billion Genies, issue number 5. This is the 8 months later part of the story. 8 Billion Genies is a great book. It's a really cool concept, but the execution of that concept, the rendering of that in the narrative is really splendidly done. Charles Soule's done a great job here. Ryan Brown's artwork is great. The coloring on this book is great. And the colors are by Ryan Brown as well. So in this one, we get introduced to a few more characters, a few more elements of the story, right? I really like this book. The basic premise is, one day, everybody on Earth gets a genie. Like man, woman, children, everybody. Everybody gets a genie. The world goes into chaos. Now that all the chaos has kind of hit a peak, now we're hitting the point where they're trying to solve this problem so that everybody can kind of move forward. And so I like where this is going. The story hits a certain conclusion, but a ramp up in excitement for what's to come. I really like this book. I think it's super solid. Department of Truth, issue number 21, continues to do what every issue of Department of Truth does. It's two people talking, telling us, the reader, what is going on. It's all exposition, but it is all just beautifully rendered by Martin Simmons on the artwork. I freaking love it. The lettering by Aditya Bidikar, the sense of composition, of design, of mystery, of creepiness. This is one of my favorite books, and it is, every issue is just two people, one of them telling the other person what's going on. It's literally just exposition, but it is so riveting and exciting, and I'm going to say edgy, and I don't mean edgy like, bruh, that's so edgy. I mean like edgy like, this book is sharp. So sharp you can cut yourself while reading it, if that makes sense. Then we've got Stillwater issue number 15. I'm finding myself not as into this story, right? And as I'm reading Stillwater issue 15, which is a pretty solid story about a town in which nobody can die, but it's ramped up from there for sure. And now they're trying to like take over this other town. And right? So there's that. But as I'm reading it, I'm like, I just don't really care anymore about the concept or the characters. And then we get to the ending, and then someone's like, yo, boom. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm in for at least one more issue, and I believe this is wrapping up soon. It feels like it is. Maybe I need to sit down when I can find the time and reread everything. Then we've got Skybound presents After School issue number 3. Each of these are one-shot stories, kind of done in that after-school special way, but all kind of dealing with very much like current social topics, right? So this one is dealing with like this, there's this autistic child and an older sister who is kind of annoyed with always having to take care of her and not really being able to live the life that she wants to live. And then a home invasion happens. And then this book's got a lot of heart, it's got a lot of charm, and there were moments where it was tugging at me, it was tugging at me. So each issue's kind of had its ups and its downs. Same with this one, but there were moments in this that worked really, really well, and other moments that were just kind of okay. But overall, the idea of After School, which is like it's an R-rated after-school special with modern social topics being addressed. Yeah, let's just say that. Then we got Scorched here with issue number 10. Writing a teen book is a difficult thing to do because you have to balance all these different personalities. You have to keep the flow of the narrative. You have to keep us compelled. You have to have a reason for us to keep coming back. And if a team book is done wrong, it falters and it's uninteresting. Sean Lewis is able to balance all of these characters, the narrative core that's moving everything along, and he's able to still focus in on these characters, their conflicts, their personalities, and is doing it in such an exceptional way. The Spawn books are awesome. Like, all of them. And I'm loving it. Like, absolutely loving it. Scorched, number 10, is no exception. Some really cool moments highlighting some of the personalities, some of the inner conflicts that these people are dealing with, and teasing some things coming up, and also developing the villain a little bit. I can't even remember what the villain's called now. What was his name? I know his name. Let me look it up. Anyway, like I'm going to find it. Anyway, artwork's pretty cool too. Great coloring. All right, then we got Brigade, a 30th anniversary special. So this is a redo of Brigade number 1, just like the Prophet number 1 that just came out like last month or something, but each page redone by a different artist. So I think that's a cool kind of experiment to do. There's also like a flip book there for Rob Liefeld's Airborne. So that was pretty interesting. But what I really liked about this is Ed Piscor page, which is absolutely cool. Then we've got a Tom Scioli page right there that I think is super rad. And then a Jim Rugg page. You also got other people like Dan Panosian. Who else is on here? Norm Rapmund, Mike Choi. Yeah. Ron Williams, Paul Scott, Clay Mann, Philip Tan. Pretty cool stuff, though. I like it. So why not? Then we got Briar number 1. This is a new one from Boom Studios. This one's all right. It was decent. It didn't completely engage me, but it was a decent enough concept, and it had a nice flow through it. It's written by Christopher Cantwell with artwork by Herman Garcia. And the basic premise is this. Sleeping Beauty, but instead of the prince waking her up, the prince actually decides, I can still marry her while she's asleep and just inherit all the power. And then he spends all this time, like, bringing war to the kingdom, and then 100 years later, Sleeping Beauty finally awakens, and everything's just destroyed, and it's this terrible, like, almost post-apocalyptic world for, like, a fairy tale world. Interesting concept, and the story had a good flow to it, and the artwork was pretty solid, too. But it didn't completely grab me, but it was interesting. So definitely you might want to check that out if that sounds interesting. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 100. Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers split apart. Now they're back together for issue 100. I have been not enamored with this book anymore. Ever since the Necessary Evil story kind of wrapped up, it was just been kind of... I mean, the Eltarian War has some cool stuff, but to me, that was like the big finale and the big finish. This is a good place for me to stop with Power Rangers. Like, this book was decent enough. I still appreciate what Ryan Parrott's able to do by adding dimension to these characters, and this kind of wraps up one person's journey in a very good way. But there's just so much going on, and I liked seeing some of the previous artists come on and do different bits here and there. But I don't know, it was just all right. Like, Dan Mora does a little bit here, and Danielle De Noculio. And it comes with this card. There's like a card in there, like a Red Ranger card. Anyway, this was a good ending for a certain character, and a good ending for me for reading Power Rangers. 100 issues. Think I'm good. Think it's time to move on. Then we got from Vault Comics, Heart Eyes, issue number 2. Issue number 1 was intriguing. I really liked the artwork. Basically, it's this world that's populated by monsters now. So the last vestiges of humanity have to, like, cower underground, and nobody ever goes out. Because if you go out, it's very dangerous because all these monsters. But they find this young woman, and she's out there not worried about the monsters and somehow not getting killed by them. This is the issue where they reveal what happened to cause this monster invasion and her connection to it. And I really liked this story. The artwork was super solid, just like in the first issue. And so this issue picks up from where the last issue left off, and then did something very dramatic, and I was like, what? And then it goes into, like, explanation mode, a flashback, and at first I was, like, pissed, because, like, you need to get back to that scene. You need to show me more about that. But then I got completely engaged into this story. So I thought this was really good. I had this really good second issue. Second issue of End After End was decent. It was all right. So this is a story about people that when you die, you go to this other place where you're enlisted into this battle until you die and more people show up. So it's about this dude who was kind of a loser in life, and now maybe in his afterlife, before, you know, while he's struggling, maybe he has the ability to heed the call this time and make something of himself. So I appreciate what's going on there. The artwork's pretty decent, but it's still being, in 2 issues in, it's just a little thin, and it's not completely engaging me, but it is intriguing enough to continue to follow. Then we've got Redman here with issue number 4. I thought this was over with the last issue, and that really confused me, but it's not. It goes for 6 issues. I verified that. So from Behemoth, actually no longer Behemoth, it's Sumerian. This is like a tribute to Ultraman, basically. It's just a silent kaiju fight. And this one was really cool. Has some nice, fun, clever, cute little bits in it. So I was disappointed in the 3rd issue. I loved 1 and 2. And getting back on track for me here with issue number 4. From Dark Horse, we have The Roadie. This is written by Tim Seeley. I don't typically dig on Tim Seeley stuff, but this one was all right. So it has an intriguing concept. So like back in the day when like all that metal was going on and people were scared of the satanic stuff that was associated with it. Well, what if that was true? What if all this metal music actually did conjure demons during concerts and shows, and it's up to the roadie to be able to corral them and banish them and provide one hell of a light show at the same time. So it was intriguing and it was cool, and I actually found myself kind of getting into this. And then the roadie is set on a new journey, right? Because he's kind of living in the past. Anyway, I thought that was a really cool book. If that sounds like your cup of tea, you should drink it. Then we got Pentagram of Horror, issue number 5. I don't know what this whole series was about, okay? Maybe I need to sit down when I can and read them all. It won't take long, because this is a silent issue. There's nothing, but I love this book. This one's just about this dude, right? And each issue's like its own story. This one is this dude's getting cut up. His heart's getting pulled out. His heart gets pulled in these jars. There's all this. I love this artwork. It's so striking to me. Lots of splatter. Very monochromatic at times, or duochromatic, however you want to call that. Bloody, gory, fun, exciting, devilish. I liked it. So there you go. That's what I read. That's what I thought about it. Roadie was actually pretty solid. Redman is back on track. Heart Eyes number 2 really surprised me. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 100 will be my last issue. Briar was intriguing enough, but not as good as things like Scorched, or After School, or Flawed, or 8 Billion Genies, or Department of Truth. Old Dog was exciting enough, but that artwork really sold it for me. Ant-Man was pretty decent. Spider-Man did a pretty decent job for an Axe tie-in. What else we got here? Some clunky bits for James Tynion on Nice House on Lake and Nightmare Country. Thor was kind of whack for me this week. Human Target, though, delivers. So does Batman. Superman Space Age took a step down in quality on the story for me, but I still enjoyed it. Detective Comics was awesome. Pink Lemonade, though. You definitely want to check that out. Don't miss out on Sergeant Rock vs. the Army of Dead if you are a Bruce Campbell fan. But definitely, I encourage everybody, if you're going to buy 3 comics this week, buy Army of the Dead, buy Pink Lemonade, and get the pick of the week. Hell is a squared circle. I loved it. Anyway, that's what I read. That's what I thought. What do you read? What do you dig? And what do you think about it? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at patreon.com/PCP if you want to help support the channel. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Station. Pop, pop. Boom!